peace, power, and prosperity. Thank you, as always, for tuning into the Cosmic Christ University. This is ordained metaphysical minister Corbin reporting live. You are now tuned into probably what's going to be one of my biggest presentations of all time. This presentation has the power to bring all races together. It's going to do that regardless. But once you races, black, white, Asian, once the races are together, it's going to be up to you on how to act. Before I do this presentation, I'm going to play a video. After the video, I'm going to jump start into the presentation. As of today, this is November of 2024, Donald J. Trump has once again become president-elect. And I have a quick feeling that the timelines are going to move pretty quick with Elon Musk on his side. We are here now. We're in the age of Aquarius. We have entered the quantum world. The divine feminine energy is alive and awoke. I want to thank you all for watching. Please pay very careful attention to this video. Let's go.
Voted for Donald Trump for one reason only. His policies, if implemented, would slow the dispossession of whites in the United States. If you were to deport all illegal immigrants, if you were to think...
Hold on, let's run that back. We got to do that.
No, it is. You voted for Donald Trump when you're so into facts, because his entire campaign is not based in facts. It was all based in propaganda and emotion.
I voted for Donald Trump for one reason only. His policies, if implemented, would slow the dispossession of whites in the United States. If you were to deport all illegal immigrants, if you were to think very hard about letting in any Muslims, all of this would slow the rate at which whites are becoming a minority.
Why are you so worried about the white dispossession of America?
Because I want my people to survive. Is that so strange? We don't control China. We don't control any place where whites are not a majority. And if we become a minority, we will not control our own destiny anymore.
I grew up in this country as a minority, as the children of immigrants. I was their first child born in America. And while I didn't have much possession or didn't much control, I really enjoyed myself. And I think that if you ask a lot of Americans, they would say that I had a lot to offer this country. You know, according to you, I guess I would be perpetuating the dispossession of white America.
That is true. That is true.
Would you say that you wouldn't want me in this country?
At some point, when my ancestors built this nation, they did not build it with the intention of giving it away to Mexicans or Chinese or Asians or to anyone else.
Do you consider, you keep saying your ancestors built this country, you consider that a fact?
Who else built it?
Black people, Native Americans, Chinese people who came and built the railroads.
Do you think none of that could have been
Italian people?
But they're Europeans, aren't they?
Once again, welcome to the Cosmic Christ University. I know that video is a lot to take in. The white man in that video said a lot that we're going to be discussing today. And once again, if you, at the end of this video, try to make any excuse that this was a racist video, then you have to deal with your ego, and you have to deal with that on your own time. Now, some of you will watch and say, what in the heck does this video have to do with Atlantis and the origins of the white race? Well, listen carefully to what that white man said in that video. Remember when he said they would not have control over this civilization anymore. So, I did some research before I did this presentation. And I asked Google some questions, and I want to see if these questions are right here. I want to see if Google remember these questions before we go in. One question I had for Google was, well, what was the definition of disposition? Because remember, he kept using the word disposition when he was talking to our Asian brother. So disposition means simply, I like hearing Google say it. What's the word again?
Dispossession.
Dispossession. The act of depriving someone of land or property. The fact of having property, especially buildings or land, taken away. He said that it would put the white race in a disposition. So it would take away, it would completely wipe out the white race. So based off of my research that I'm about to give you guys today, I had a question for Google. Also, I want to see if Google remembers that question I asked. Let's see here. That question, was that question here somewhere? I may have to ask that question again. The question, I don't know why it's not here no more. Let me see if I can find it. The question, here we go. The question was about Cro-Magnon and was the white race connected to the Cro-Magnon. This is what Google says. The earliest Cro-Magnon specimens also exhibit some features that are reminiscent of those found in Neanderthals. The first Cro-Magnons would have had darker skin tones than most modern Europeans. But it also says that the word white people, I'm gonna read this too as well. Cro-Magnons, Cro-Magnons, sometimes called European early modern humans, were members of our species, Homo sapiens, who lived in Europe at the end of the last age. But I also asked Google, was the Cro-Magnons white people? And Google said the term white people, for those out there who call yourself white people, they said that word was a social construct. So what I did was I Googled social construct. Now stay with me here, because this is all going to lead to Atlantis and the origins of the white race. Let me read on what Google says social construct is. Remember, I Googled it. Google said that the term white people is nothing more than a social construct. So let's read what a social construct is. A social construct is a concept or practice that is created by a society or group through convention or agreement rather than being a natural part of the world. Social constructs are real because humans agree they are, and they are shaped by the way people think, talk, and conceptualize. Remember, I asked Google, was the white race or were white people Cro-Magnons? Google told me that white people are a social construct. I just read to you what social construct means. Here we go. A social construct is a concept or practice that is created by a society or group through convention or agreement. Somebody agreed that white people were going to be called white people. Now listen, it says rather than being a natural part of the world. This is what we're about to go to. Are white people a natural part of the world? This is the question that some of them have. Now listen, I have people on here that I consider family that are non-black, that are what you will call white people. And they send me these comments constantly about, well, minister, I watched your video, but I seen your video on Hitler, the Avatar, the Christ. Am I a robot because I'm white? Does that mean I'm a robot? Now, I'm an ordained minister in metaphysics. My biggest message is that we all come from the source, the one. But people still disassociate themselves from the source, the all. And when you do that, you're going to ask questions like that. And when you ask questions like that, it is my responsibility as an ordained minister to give you the esoteric and the metaphysical. So before I go into the presentation at 9 minutes, going to say this one more time. At the end of this video, if you are having some type of racial feeling on this video, then it is only coming from within you. Because what I'm about to drop is all facts. Now, for those who know or heard of Hitler, Adolf Hitler, that is, Hitler once said this, and I'm paraphrasing. Hitler said, if I lose the war against the Jews, it would be a temporary blow. But if I win the war, it would be an amazing win. But the loss of Hitler was only an exoteric loss. Hitler actually won the war, but he won it in an esoteric way. The whole thing about Hitler in the battle, that a lot of us weren't even born at that time, but I'm going to put this in a simple box so we can understand before I go inside the presentation. Hitler knew that if he won the war against the Jews, that it would be a tremendous win, but still there would have to be more work. But if he lost the war to the Jews, that it would be a temporary loss, and it would eventually cut the roots off what we call Jews completely. For you who are watching this, I have already done a video called Hitler Avatar, Hitler the Christ. Hitler and everything about Hitler was esoteric, meaning it was hidden, meaning that it wasn't meant for the popular eyes to understand who and what Hitler was fighting for. So if you haven't watched the Hitler, the Christ, and Hitler the Avatar video, then maybe you should watch that video before you watch that. For everybody else, I am about to go in. I come from a place of love. And this presentation that's about to be done is going to be doing the same thing. I think I'm going to put the glasses on so I can read this very clearly. How y'all doing out there? I know everybody's on the edge of their seat right now. Bro, you talking about Atlantis and you talking about white race and the origins of it. Yeah, we're ready to hear you, brother. Talk. So I shall. You ready? Of course you are. Welcome to the Cosmic Christ University, the home of the esoteric. I am reading from the last Avatar. Once you hear this, if you guys are interested, give me 20 likes on here. Tell a friend to tune in. I'll give you this PDF with no problem, but a lot of you need to hear it anyway. Heresides, and that's spelled Hesiods. Heresides, 4 ages of humanity, ages of gold, silver, bronze, and iron, have nothing to do with the epochs of the Paleolithic, Neolithic, bronze, or iron of contemporary anthropology and ethnology. I'm going to read that again because I'm telling you we're about to go in. Heresides, Hesiods, 4 ages of humanity, which is ages of gold, ages of silver, bronze, and iron, have nothing to do with the epochs or ages of the Paleolithic, Neolithic, bronze, or iron of contemporary anthropology and ethnology. The ages of Hesed, once again spelled Hesiod, connect with the yugas of Aryan India. How many of you have ever heard of the Aryan race? Aryans are all about pure blood. If you think life is about white versus black, it's deeper than that. It's about pure blood. Pure blood. A lot of people walking around right now are not pure blood. Even if you're claiming you're all white, you're not all white. Even if you're claiming you're so-called all black, I promise you, you're not all black. Now, I'm going to read that one more time, family. And then, once again, I'm going to go in. Heresides, and I'm probably saying it wrong, but it's Hesiods. The 4 ages of humanity, Ages of gold, silver, bronze, and iron have nothing to do with the epochs of Paleolithic, Neolithic, bronze, or iron of contemporary anthropology and ethnology. The ages of Hesiod connect with the yugas of Aryan India. Neanderthal man from some 100,000 years ago has been called glacial man. Once again, Neanderthal man from 100,000 years ago, once again, that's 100,000 years ago, has been called glacial man, quote, end quote. He inhabited the region today known as France and Spain. He disappeared at the beginning of the Stone Age. Now, this word is called organic or argenic. Let's say argenic, which is A-U-R-I-G-N-A-C, argenic. Argenic man followed him. So once again, Neanderthal man from 100,000 years ago has been called, and I quote, glacial man, or pretty much ice man. He inhabited the region today known as France and Spain. He disappeared at the beginning of the Stone Age. And listen, Argenic man, which is spelled A-U-I-G-N-A-C man, followed him a little closer to man as such. He was spread through Bohemia and Siberia. Once again, Neanderthal man was spread through Bohemia and Siberia. According to Wirth, W-I-R-T-H, who's an author, Mediterranean man could have come from him. So, Mediterranean. Now, I want you guys, once you get Google, to Google all these people and their race. Look how they look. Mediterranean man came from Neanderthal man, but let's keep it going. Listen to what it says. Neanderthal man and Argic man are both as much failed robotic creations of the demiurge confined inside the cycle law of evolution and involution within the eternal return. I told you guys that this is going to be a different presentation. Don't lose me, and I will not lose you. Avatar said that the Jews were an alien race, not from here. Everybody's having alien talk now, so let's talk alien talk. I'm going to read that again. Neanderthal man from 100,000 years ago has been called glacial man, quote, end quote. He inhabited the region today known as France and Spain. He disappeared at the beginning of the Stone Age. Argenic, which is spelled A-U-R-I-G-N-A-C, Argenic man followed him a little closer to man as such. He was spread through Bohemia and Siberia, according to the author Wirth, W-I-R-T-H. Mediterranean man could have come from him. Neanderthal and Argenic man are both as much failed robotic creations of the demiurge confined inside the cyclic law of evolution and involution within the eternal return with his aspiration and inspiration. Stop there, minister. For those who have been watching me for 3 years or 4 years on YouTube, know very well who the demiurge is. If you don't, look at my early videos on this channel and you'll know exactly who the demiurge is. But to give you a 10-second introduction, that controlling, demonic, you shall do this, you should do that, God that is in the Bible is actually a demiurge named Yaldabaoth. He controls the zodiacs, which are controlled by the archons. They are all together to keep us bound in this planet. But now their time is up, and the light from the Pentacross is now connecting to the light within our bodies, the true soul within us. I was going to read it again, but I'm not going to read it again. Cro-Magnon man. Now, remember a while ago I talked about Cro-Magnon man. C-R-O-M-A-G-O-N. And now let's see if I can go back to, here we go. Remember, The earliest Cro-Magnon specimens also exhibit some features that are reminiscent of those found in Neanderthals. The first Cro-Magnons would have had darker skin tones than most modern Europeans. Natural selection for lighter skin would not have begun until 300,000 years ago. Once again, Cro-Magnon is sometimes called, once again, and I quote, European early modern humans. So to my understanding and those understanding now, what you call the white race or the white people are creations of the early Cro-Magnons. But remember what was said about the so-called the so-called white people. Google says that white people, the term white people is a social construct, that white people are a social construct. And the definition for social construct is a concept or practice that is created by a society or group through convention or agreement rather than being a natural part of the world. The question is white people a part of the natural part of the world? Let's keep on reading. Cro-Magnon man, and make sure you are Googling, when you type in Cro-Magnon man, Google it and then click on the images and you'll see what Cro-Magnon man looks like today. Once again, Cro-Magnon is spelled Cromagnon. Once again, let's keep going. Cro-Magnon man, whose sudden appearance is a mystery, corresponds to the interests of the Hyperboreans. We're talking, this is when Atlantis and Lemuria comes in here now, guys. Cro-Magnon man, whose sudden appearance, that means before he came out of nowhere. Remember what Hitler says, the Jews are an alien race, not from this planet. For you guys who had never heard of a Hitler speech, through AI technology now, you can hear a Hitler speech in English. It's very serious once you listen to it. How you guys doing out there right now? You good? Stay with me because I have people who have asked me to do videos like this. They want to know that, hey, listen, I didn't watch your other video on Hitler, the Avatar of the Christ. Hitler saying that we are robots. Minister, let me know who I am. All right then. This is what I'm doing. Cro-Magnon man, whose sudden appearance is a mystery, corresponds to the interests of the Hyperboreans. Cro-Magnon man, whose sudden appearance is a mystery, corresponds to the interests of the Hyperboreans. Let's keep reading. They settled in the Franco-Cantabrian, that's Cantabrian, Peninsula, Belgium, Holland, Denmark, Sweden. He develops the civilization of Altamira, Altamira, better known as Magnadelian, because their paintings and drawings were first found on Magnadelian Island. That's spelled Magdalena Island. White people, people of every color. This is history factual. For the white people who want to know who they are, this is the presentation. For those people of color who wonder why the white race has been so hard on people of color, melanated people, this is your presentation. For people who have always been wondering if Atlantis and Lemuria, the underwater or the water civilizations before this time, actually exist, this is also your presentation. Cro-Magnon man, whose sudden appearance is a mystery, corresponds to the interests of the Hyperboreans. They settled in Franco-Cantabrian Peninsula, Belgium, Holland, Denmark, Sweden. The Cro-Magnon man develops the civilization of Altamira, better known as Magnadelian, because their paintings and drawings were first found on Magdalena Island, Magdalena. There is also the civilization of Reno, quote, end quote. This man would have measured 6 feet tall and was dolishphilic. Let me see if I got enough internet connection to figure out what that word is. It's D. I'm going to copy it because my Wi-Fi connection be acting funny sometimes when I'm on this screen. Let me copy this so we can get to that word. Dolichocephalic. Dolichocephalic. Let's see if I got enough. And thank y'all for y'all patience, by the way. Let's see if I got enough Wi-Fi connection here to figure out what this word means. Take a look. It's in a book. Reading. Having a relatively long skull. So it means you have a long-ass skull. So that's what it means. Google, how you say it?
Dolichocephalic.
Let me cut the volume up on that one. That was a... How you say that word again?
Dolichocephalic.
All that. Yes. One more time.
Dolichocephalic.
Okay, gotcha. So let's go back to the presentation. There is also a civilization of Reno. This man would have measured 6 feet tall and was Jack. I mean, he had a long skull. He dominated Europe at the end of the last glacial period. While Cro-Magnon man is an involuted Hyperborean, there is an immense difference between him and his ancestors. His cave paintings are marvelous. I have seen them in Spain, the author says. In the caves of Altamira, once again spelled Altamira, Wowzer, proponent of the polar Nordic origin of man, believes the Cro-Magnon is Nordic man. When we're talking about Nordic, listen, Norse mythology. This is white people are connected strong to Norse mythology. To my white family that are watching now, are you not? So when you think of Nordic, N-O-D-I-C, you're thinking of Norse, N-O-R-S-E mythology, you're thinking of Odin, O-D-I-N, which is the god of Nordic mythology. So if you are a white race or come from the European race, and if you don't know anything about Nordic, then you need to do some research. If you are a person of color and you're always talking about the white man this, the white man that, you should study the Nordic or Norse mythology. Let me read that again. While Cro-Magnon man is an involuted Hyperborean, there is an immense difference between him and his ancestors. And I have a great feeling that maybe his ancestors are partly melanin and maybe partly what you call extraterrestrial. But we'll get to that part soon. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for your patience. We're only 20 minutes. We're only 28 minutes in. While Cro-Magnon man is an involuted, that's I-N-V-L-U-T-E-D Hyperborean, there is an immense difference between him and his ancestors. His cave paintings are marvelous. I have seen them in Spain in the caves of Altamira. Wiltzer, proponent of the polar Nordic origin of man, believes the Cro-Magnon is Nordic man. They vanished as mysteriously as they came, some 12,000 years ago, and no one knows from whence they came, nor where they went. Let me read that again. While Cro-Magnon man is involuted Hyperborean, there is an immense difference between him and his ancestors. His cave paintings are marvelous. I have seen them in Spain, in the caves of Altamira. Weiser, proponent of the polar Nordic origin of man, believes the Cro-Magnon is Nordic man. They vanished as mysteriously as they came, some 12,000 years ago, and no one knows from whence they came, nor where they went. This next part is going to be pretty serious to read as well. Now, to my people of my black people, melanated people, people of color. When I started this channel and the channel previous before that, many years ago, I wanted to know, as a melanated person, as a so-called black person, how much does racism plays a role? How far does racism go back? And I got my answer. And if you watch this channel, if you're new to this channel, I have another channel called the Darius Corbin channel. That was my first channel many years ago. But if you watch this channel and the videos that I have, you see that I have reached my climax of my question. I have answered my own question for years. Yes, racism plays a big part on the way that you see whites versus blacks, blacks versus whites, however you want to look at it. This presentation is to give everybody of whatever ethnic background a bigger perspective of who the white race is, with not dehumanizing the white race, in my opinion, and not throwing anybody under the bus. But with Donald J. Trump now being into the president, a lot of things are a lot of the timeline is going to change. And with this presentation, I want to give people a reason why that timeline is going to change. So I'm going to read this last part one more time before we go into the next part, because the next part is going to start talking about Atlantis and things that a lot of people's minds are going to have a hard time grasping. And as an ordained minister, as a Christ-conscious being, with my job to bring people together, I'm going to need you to listen up. And like I said, give me 20 likes, and I'm going to give you this PDF. This PDF goes way farther than me talking about Atlantis and the origins of white race. Remember, Hitler lost the esoteric war, the war that was seen by the masses. But Hitler actually won the esoteric war, the hidden war that you didn't know about. There's a whole other side of the Hitler story that you do not know about, that they could not possibly tell you about. So let's read the last part again. And I thank you guys for rocking with me. While Cro-Magnon man is an involuted Hyperborean, there is an immense difference between him and his ancestors. His cave paintings are marvelous. I have seen them in Spain, the author says. In the caves of Altameria, Wilser, W-I-S-E-R, proponent of the polar Nordic, N-O-R-D-I-C origin of man, believes the Cro-Magnon is Nordic man. They vanished as mysteriously as they came some 12,000 years ago, and no one knows from whence they came, nor where they went. Now, this is an author's name, or this is somebody's name here. Dmitry Merkowinski. I'm just going to say Dmitry. Dmitry, in a beautiful book entitled Europe Atlantis, America Atlantis. Now, I myself got a PDF this book now. But Dmitry, in a beautiful book entitled Europe Atlantis, America Atlantis, states that Cro-Magnon man was a colonizer and civilizer from Atlantis, who disappeared just when the continent sank into the ocean. His dates for the catastrophe coincide with those given by Plato. Now, so-called spiritual people, now, so-called religious people, now, so-called white people, now, so-called black people, now, so-called Asiatic people, can you handle the truth? I'm an ordained minister. This is what I was born to do. It's going to get quiet here for a few seconds. There's a saying that there is nothing new under the sun. As above, so below. Within, so without. Now, this here sit very well to what I studied. That the white race, even in Atlantis, were slave owners. There's a queen in Atlantis called the White Goddess. This is why people don't talk about Atlantis that much. And if you watch one of my old presentations, I talk about this group of black our black ancestors, our melanated ancestors called the Ramadans. Google is your best friend, but research them. RHOMDALS. And like I said, Google's your best friend. But when you Google that name, type in Lemuria right beside it so you can really get the answer that you were looking for. But the Ramadans were in Atlantis. They were, I want to say, descendants of Lemuria. Remember, there was Lemuria first, then Atlantis. Both of them failed the same reason: abuse of dark crystal power. Jim Henson has a movie called Dark Crystal. That is a true story. Now let's go back to what I was saying. The Ramadans were a black race from Lemuria that ended up being in Atlantis, and they, based off the stories, were still slaved by these white slave owners. Now I'm going to read this again. Dimitri, in a beautiful book entitled Europe Atlantis, America Atlantis, states that the Cro-Magnon, which we know to a certain extent today, is another word for the white race, even though Google says different. Cro-Magnon man was a colonizer. Think about the people of color who dealt with colonizer in this world, in this country. There is nothing new under the sun. So based off the information that's saying here, that the so-called white man, of course, didn't have a problem being a colonizer or a slave owner in this planet. Because obviously, he was doing it when Atlantis was going on as well. Now, we're not putting emotion on this. We're having you think. None of this should be emotionless presentation. That's the only way we're going to grow as a people. We are learning facts. My teacher, Dr. David Blair, said, there is no truth until you find out what truth is. I'm just giving you the information. It's your job to research it. That the Cro-Magnon man was a colonizer and civilizer from Atlantis who disappeared just when that continent sank in the ocean. His dates for the catastrophe coincide with those given by Plato. Now, if you guys remember, the Old Testament starts with the flood, or before the Old Testament, when the Old Testament talks about a flood, Noah. But they never tell you about what happened before the flood. The Old Testament starts with the flood. But what was going on before the flood? Atlantis was going on before the flood. Lemuria was going on before the flood. ETs, spaceships were going on before the flood. Remember, the ones who survived end up going to the highest mountains, the Caucasus Mountains. All right, let's keep going, Minister. Let's keep going. The author Wirth, once again, W-I-R-T-H, conception of this is the following. A most ancient race, Negro, appeared in Gondwana, South America, Africa, Australia. So now we have answered the question, who was the most ancient race? Some of us already knew who the most ancient race is. But now, based off this author, W-I-R-T-H, it goes as this. A most ancient race, Negro, that means the black, that means the melanated, appeared in Gondwana. That is G-O-N-D, Wana. I'm going to get a little air in here. In Gondwana. South America, Africa, Australia, another yellow brunette. And then it says, another yellow brunette, Pheno-Asiatic, occupied Asia, a great part of Europe, and the two Americas. Matter of fact, we're going to put that AC on. We're going to put that AC on. Y'all can still hear me, right? Yeah, we're going to cool out with the AC. A most ancient race, Negro, the blacks, the melanated people, appeared in Gondwana, South America, Africa, Australia. Next, another yellow brunette Phino-Asiatic occupied Asia, a great part of Europe, and the two Americas. They are preserved in the Mongolian race. A third race is the pre-Nordic or primordial Nordic, Arctic, for worth. Remember that organic man or Arginic man, Aurignac, and Cro-Magnon man are already the product of the mixing of pre-Nordic man with Negro and Phino-Asiatic race. Involution, racial sin. Now, this word keeps coming up now, guys. Involution. Remember they said it a while ago about the Hyperboreans. Now I got to Google what that word means. And I'm going to read what was just said a while ago, but I want to see what that word means. Let me see what that word means right quick. Involution, and it keeps saying it. Find out what that word means. Give a shout out to my internet connection for being real good. What's that word?
Involution.
I said it right. The shrinkage of an organ in old age when inactive. Let's see a simple term for it. The act or instance of enfolding or entangling. The shrinkage, a function transformation or operator that is equal to inverse, i.e. which gives the identity when applied to itself.
Involution.
All right, so let's go back to the presentation. The author says a most ancient race, which is the Negro, appeared in Gondwana first, South America, Africa, Australia. Another one then next was the yellow brunette Phino-Asiatic, which occupied Asia, a great part of Europe, and the two Americas. Not the two Americas. North America, South America, true. They are preserved in the Mongolian race. A third race is the pre-Nordic or primordial Nordic, Arctic. For the author says the Arginic man and Cro-Magnon man are already the product of the mixing of the pre-Nordic man with Negro. So way back in that time, the pre-Nordic man was having sex with the blacks. The blacks were having sex with the pre-Nordics. It was a mixture. That's why when people talk about pure blood, who is pure blood nowadays? The mixing of the pre-Nordic man with Negro and Phino-Asiatic races. And it says that was an involutional racial sin. Involutional means shrinkage. So by mixing with this, well, by all this race mixing, by the Asians having sex with the blacks having sex with the pre-Nordics having sex with the Asiatics, this was a racial sin. And you're going, in different stories, in different books, you're going to hear about the gods who came down. The guys who came down to have sex with the daughters of men. We're dealing with mixing of blood. Everything before that was a pure blood. When it was pure blood, we're dealing with certain powers that come with having pure blood. That's why when you're dealing with these people and these royal families, they only focus on pure blood. Let's keep on reading. Let's go on. Y'all all right out there? I know we on 40 minutes. We might have to do a part 2. If y'all like this, let me know. If y'all want a part 2, let me know. I haven't even started yet. Let's keep going. In the north, the author finds remains of old racial groups that did not migrate. Blonde, blue-eyed Eskimos in Greenland. Strangely, they sing, and I quote, "The men who come from under the earth are great and terrible." End quote. God, here we go again. Not under the earth. So now we have to address people coming from under the earth. The author says that they find remains of old racial groups that did not migrate. Blonde, blue-eyed Eskimos in Greenland. Strangely, they sing, "The men who come from under the earth are great and terrible." For the Hyperboreans came from there, and a legend tells the Eskimos have gone out from there expelled from the interior, or rather by chance destiny, they fell into a topological crease, window, or gate that took them outside. So now we are dealing with stargates, or some type of topological crease or window. I'm not going to stop. Blood groups have all served ethno-anthropological investigations. Blood groups have all served ethno-anthropological investigations. Here we go. Group 1, A and B, corresponds to European Asiatic blend. Group 2, A, is that of white Caucasians and curiously is found among the Vikings, the Gaunchis of the Canary Islands, and among the natives of Eastern Island. Well, y'all listen, this is better than the History Channel. History Channel, holla at me. Because when we all be talking to ancient alien stuff, I love ancient aliens, but a lot of the stuff that y'all be having questions for or having the people think is a question that I know you guys have the answer to, that I have the answer to, come holla at me and we can have these conversations. Talk about ancient astrologers. Just say black people, or just say people from under the earth, or Gartha. Don't have the people thinking this stuff is not already answered. Let me read that again. Blood groups have all served ethno-anthropological investigations. Group 1, A to B, corresponds to European Asiatic blend. Group 2A is that of white Caucasians and curiously is found among the Vikings and the Gaunchis, which is spelled Guanches, of the Canary Islands, and among the natives of Easter Island. This is confirmed by Professor D. Mahu, spelled Demahieu, who states the Viking leaders of the civilization of Tiahuanacu, Tiahuanacu, after the defeat and destruction of the empire left by the sea for Easter Island. Group 3B is found among the Mongolians and Asiatics. The first group, A and B, is produced by a mix between Group 2A and Group 3B. There is a Group 4O. This is that of the Indo-Americans. The Negroes have mixed groups. Once again, the Negroes have mixed groups with a greater percentage in Group 4O. There is also a this group factor RH. You hear a lot of people about with RH blood as well, which divides into RH positive and RH negative. 70% of the Baskies, or Basques, belong to this group, even when they declare only 30%. The blood group today serve mostly to make up, the blood groups today serve mostly to make us see how mixed the races have become. We again recall the mystery of the blood. What was the blood of the Hyperboreans like? Contemporary hematology only analyzes physical factors. We should take into account, however, that blood, even today, is less materialized than water. In Hyperborean, it was a blue fluid. It still is for divas, Divyas. And if you don't know what divas are, then you should definitely Google that. The visions of rishis and of the Minesagers, Minnesager, astral images and extra cosmic poetry are, and I quote, their memory. Let me read this again. Rishis and of the Minesager, astral images and extra cosmic poetry are their memory, circulating shadows, goading or frightful. The alchemy of transmutation of the vira. Now this is, the talk that I'm talking now is all Hitler esotericism. Remember, I'm going to say this one more time. Hitler lost the esoteric war, which means the masses, what the masses saw was to give the illusion that Hitler lost. Hitler, in actuality, won the esoteric war, the hidden war. Let's keep reading. The alchemy of transmutation of the vira, and for the people who love the Norse mythology, for people who are fans or even ops of Hitler, you need to know what vira is. Vira. The alchemy of transmutation, one of my favorite words, of the vira into diva in the warrior and tantric initiations of Amor And a Moor, I want to also have our people look up that word too, because when I hear a Moor, I think of the Moors, who brought a lot of the knowledge and cleanliness to the Europeans. So it says a Moor, but a Moor in this book is spelled A-M-O-R. So we're going to have to Google it in that way, A-M-O-R. But once again, the alchemy of transmutation of the Vira, V-I-R-A, into Diva, into the warrior and tantric initiation of a Moor acts directly on the genes, blood, and its groups, alternating the most subtle area of metabolism, resurrecting to the anti-Varna, spelled A-T-I-V-A-R-N-A, beyond Varna. But this is only possible among the Aryan virals, among the twice born. Once again, Aryan is more than about a pure white race. Aryan is about pure blood in general. Pure blood in general. Do not think that Donald J. Trump, that's why I showed you that video in the beginning, because for men like that man who was speaking with the Asian brother, and for people like Donald J. Trump, this is about pure blood. This is about preserving pure blood, because once you preserve the pure blood, then it's not tainted. Then you can have access to the ancestors of your pure blood. The Haitians knew this. The Egyptians knew this. And we're about to go deep into the Egyptians in a minute. This might have to be a part 2 as well. But this is about pure blood. Let's keep, because we haven't even scratched the surface. Know thyself and be a god is what it says in the book. Greenland is a remnant of the disappeared polar continent. It united Europe with America. And I remember hearing about Greenland in school too. I remember you guys remember the map of Greenland. It was all the way up top. A little small Greenland. I remember Greenland. Greenland is a remnant of the disappeared polar continent. It united Europe with America. This is proven by vast brown coal deposits under the ice. It had vegetation identical with that of Europe, a moderate continuous climate. The study of its carbon subsidiates the even growth of the trees without winter interruptions, like in the tropics. The pole would still not have moved, nor the terrestrial axis yet shifted. Enormous deposits of coal are also found in Antarctica. There's a lot of talk about Antarctica because within Antarctica, there is a place called Argartha, which there are beings, especially beings of color, but beings of all color there, that know about the preservations of our world and the inner worlds. The pole would still not have moved, nor the terrestrial axis yet shifted. Enormous deposits of coal are also, enormous deposits of coal are also found in Antarctica. Anybody in Antarctica, can y'all verify that? That's people who watch this channel and watch this podcast and watch this university, Cosmic Christ University, that know about Antarctica. Enormous deposits of coal are also found in Antarctica. There, the poles seem to be edging into the present with perceptible changes of climate throughout southern Chile. The anthropologist and Worth, the author himself, worked with hypotheses to explain the arrivals of Argonic and Cro-Magnon men. Nothing they hold can be considered valid for us. They correspond with the esoteric Weltan Chong, and I guess you guys are going to have to research this name too. Weltanschauung. Our position, the author says, is that of esoteric Hitlerism. Whether you are a fan of Hitler, you hated Hitler, if you call yourself a historian, if you never heard of esoteric Hitlerism, this further shows how far beyond and spiritually beyond people are. You guys out here thinking Hitler lost the war. Hitler went to Antarctica. Hitler and his people went to Antarctica. His people are still in Antarctica because they know in Antarctica there's an inner world there that is beautiful, that our people are now just going to hear about. But we've been on the surface of Earth with all this chaos, people killing each other. You white, but you hate black, and you black and you hate white. You Asian and you doing all this. And let me say this before I go in. To the white race and to the Asian race, who have worked together for millenniums to keep the black race and races of color down. Don't act like you don't know what I'm talking about. To the white races and the Asian races who have worked together to keep the people of color down and to keep them from not knowing who they truly were. This, in the age of the divine feminine energy, you guys are going to feel a sting like no other. It's not a promise. That is definitely a certainty. They correspond with the esoteric Welton Chong. I told you I spelled the name for you. Our position is that of esoteric Hitlerism, explained in the preceding pages. However, hypothesis of Worth, the author, helps us to complete our ideas where they cosign, according with the author, Paleolithic civilization extending from 17,000 to 12,000 BC. The Reno civilization from 12,000 to 7,000 BC. Here arises the great hiatus between the civilizations of the Magdalenian hunters and what appears thousands of the years later, an agricultural civilization, what becomes of the Nordic Atlantic Cro-Magnons. What becomes of the Nordic Atlantic Cro-Magnons? The author seeks the answers in symbols. He claims there was a primary lineal writing common among Nordic man, and a Serie Sacra, that is spelled S-E-R-I-E S-A-C-R-A, based on signs used to calculate the eras of the zodiac. I am giving you information that I don't care if you're white. If you're white, some of you are going to thank me for this because it now connects you to your lineage. Whether Viking, Nordic, you are now getting a full connection to who you are, whether you want to hear it or not. The author seeks to listen, what became of Nordic Atlantic Cro-Magnons? The author seeks to answer in symbols. He claims there was a primary lineal writing common among Nordic man, a Serie Sacra, based on signs used to calculate the eras of the zodiac, or the eras, E-R-A-S, of the zodiac. Every 2,000 years, now keep in mind, because I told you in the last presentation that every 2,150 years, the consciousness of the humans elevate into a higher consciousness. This book is saying every 2,000 years, the zodiac position of the earth changes. This sacred writing, therefore, has a calendar value, including Mayan writing and certainly that of Mapuches, that's spelled M-A-P-U-C-H-E-S, or Riches, who we come to discover in turn calculated by taking into account Venus, the sun, and the moon. It is also believed they possess a sort of tarot with cards or pages engraved on leather. The author finds the Serie Sacra in the most distant points of the earth, locations of engraved rocks in America and the Arctic coinciding with the classification in blood groups. In the Arctic, he discovered traces of the first blood group. The zodiac sign corresponding it was Leo, between 16,000 and 14,000 BC. Then Cancer, between 14,000 and 12,000. Atlantis, in 9,000 BC, everything was erupted. Then comes the twilight, Zendaya, S-A-N-D-H-Y-A, and the symbols are lost, disappeared. This is when Plato indicates the sinking of Atlantis. So now we have proof, not just what Plato was giving us, that Atlantis was real, but the author W-I-R-T-H. In the Gobi, the author Worth, W-I-R-T-H, finds traces or found traces indicating, let me read this again. In the Gobi, the author finds traces of a great civilization of prehistory that immigrated for unknown reasons toward the southeast, reaching the Rhine, family, the Danube, that's D-A-U-B-E, and Black Sea. Later, they went through Spain to Africa, the Atlas Mountains, and Libya. The blonde Libyans appeared then. According to D. Mahu, they would be the authors of the Sunstone. In Tahutia, or that's Intihuatana. And I hope you guys are writing these names down and researching them on your own time. On the beach of San Domingo in Chile, corresponding with the so-called Mapu, M-A-I-P, Rapal culture, and I quote, painted house of Tenegaruchia, as well as grotto with rock paintings. The blonde Libyans, Cro-Magnon man, would have reached America. The megalithic civilization fell with the Sira Sacra of Worth, with a central theme of a winter solace. The pyramid, sphinx, and great epoch of the first Nordic Atlantic pharaohs are a tribute to them. We're about to end this now, so I'm going to definitely have to do a part 2. With the disappearance of Atlantis, those Nordic Atlanteans saved from the flood went along the coast of Africa and reached the Persian Gulf, founding the Sumerian Akkadian civilization there. Their lineal writing repeats the Atlantic solar ideograms. There, the Jews stole Genesis. Holy shit. Their immigration reached to China, where they would have met the remnants of a language of Indo-Germanic type of the Kentum, spelled K-E-N-T-U-M, not Centum group. The author states their legendary expansion reached Australia because they founded the Maru, Mu, U equals Atlantis. Even today, different from Mongolian and Negro types. Oh my gosh. We are learning about the Atlanteans, who became the blonde Libyans, who were the Cro-Magnons, who went to Africa and the Persian Gulf, and these became the Egyptians. Remember, the Egyptians were pretty much a mixed race of people. They were mixed. They were mixed people. We're going to have to do a part 2. But I'm going to start off again. Let's go back here. The blonde Libyans, and quote, the blonde Libyans, you guys are going to have to Google that on your own time. Let me just go back a little bit further. I'm going to end it right here. And I think I heard about the Gobi temples and all that, the Gobi. But anyway, in the Gobi, the author finds traces of a great civilization of prehistory that immigrated for unknown reasons toward the southeast, reaching the Rhine, the Danube, or Danube, D-A-N-U-B-E, and the Black Sea. Later, they went through Spain to Africa, the Atlas Mountains, and Libya. Once again, we're going to have to research this, family. The blonde Libyans appeared then. According to D. Mahu, they would be the authors of the Sunstone. The authors of the Sunstone. Wow. This reminds me of that movie, Apocalypse, right? You guys remember that movie? I think it was a Mel Gibson movie. I might have to watch that movie again, because this is giving me that type of vibe when I'm hearing these type of names and the way they're spelled. And it's talking about the Mayans and all that as well. So let me read that again. In the Gobi, the author found traces of a great civilization of prehistory that immigrated for unknown reasons toward the southeast, reaching the Rhine, the Daube, and Black Sea. Later, they went through Spain to Africa, the Atlas Mountains, and Libya. The blonde Libyans appeared then. According to author Demihieu, spelled Demhieu, they would be the authors of the Sunstone, or better known as Intihuatana, on the beach of San Domingo in Chile. Corresponding with the so-called Mapio Rapel culture, spelled Maiporapel, and I quote, painted house of Tinguiririca as well, a grotto with rock paintings, the blonde Libyans Cro-Magnon man would have reached America. The megalithic civilization fell with the Siri Sacra of Wirth, the author, with a central theme of the winter solace. The pyramid, sphinx, and great epoch of the first Nordic Atlantic pharaohs are a tribute to them. I'm going to end this by saying, with the disappearance of Atlantis is gone now, those Nordic Atlanteans saved from the flood. What flood? The same flood that Noah went through. Remember, they went to the highest mountains in the Caucasus. They were on a spaceship. The spaceship flew to the highest mountains. The Sumerian texts tell you that. The Enuma Elish tell you that, which is the Sumerian text. Are you with me, family? With the disappearance of Atlantis, those Nordic Atlanteans saved from the flood went along the coast of Africa and reached the Persian Gulf, founding the Sumerian-Akkadian civilization there. Their little writing repeats the Atlantic solar ideograms. There, the Jews stole Genesis. Did you guys know the Jews stole Genesis, the original beginning of the Bible? Did you guys know that? This is news. The Jews out there. Did you know you guys stole the Genesis from everybody? Well, this is what this book says. Remember, give me 20 likes and you will now have this PDF. This PDF is 513 pages. The Last Avatar. You can research it yourself if you want to. I'm going to read that again. With the disappearance of Atlantis, those Nordic, look up Norse mythology, look up Cro-Magnons, look up white people. With the disappearance of Atlantis, those Nordic Atlanteans saved from the flood went along the coast of Africa and reached the Persian Gulf, founding the Sumerian-Akkadian civilization there. Their little writings repeat the Atlantic solar ideograms, IDEOgrams. There, the Jews stole Genesis. Their immigration reached to China, where they would have met the remnants of a language of Indo-Germanic type of Kintum, not Centum group. The author states their legendary expansion reached Australia because they founded the Maru or Moyura, which equals Atlantis, even today different from the Mongolian and Negro types. I guess I'll end here. The boats of the flood ran aground on the tops of the highest mountains of the earth. One was in the Caucasus on Mount Ararat, that's spelled Ararat, with a Rurik name, the summit of the Orgins. The boats of the flood that's talked about in your Bible, ran aground on the tops of the highest mountains of the earth. One was the Caucasus on the Mount of Ararat, with a Rurik name, the summit of the Orgins. The first cycle of North Atlantic civilization included the Stone Age. My car is about to cut off, that's all that is. That means this presentation is about to end. The second cycle, the Bronze Age, a Nordic Atlantic wave reached Ireland, Phrygia, spelled Frisia, and Saxonian, Saxony. The islands of Ireland and Britain were then connected to the European continent, so the Germans were not different from the Tuathas, Tuathas, Daedani, or those Nordic Atlanteans settled along the North Sea, who mixed theirs with Aborigines coming from Asia. with Pheno-Asiatics according to the author. And I'm going to end there again. Part 2's coming. Leave a comment, leave a like. Part 2's coming. Part 2's coming. I am ordained minister Corbin. This is the Cosmic Christ University. Welcome.